Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
This is So I'm Watching the Show, your new favorite pop culture YouTube channel where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. I wanted to record an intro because we're going to release some very old test footage of ours that was Riverdale. We covered season 1 and 2 of Riverdale, and because we have had so much fun with that show, for better and worse, and because it's been one of some of our most popular content, I was like, we've got this footage. It's not great. Like, our audio's bad. Yeah. We look different. There is no set. Yeah. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, I think the conversation is good. Mm-hmm. And I think it's worth releasing.
It's in my old dining room.
So yeah, we're definitely going to release season 1, probably season 2. And that's what this is. This is just a little intro for our Riverdale season 1 and 2 content. So you got to have options.
I see.
So please do enjoy. This episode's a mess.
Yes. Okay.
This episode was a mess.
Thank you, because I was
watching so lashy,
and I was like, "This is sloppy." And there is so. First of all,
what was it called?
Faster Pussycat kill. Yeah. So Archie is the flippy floppiest person in the universe in this episode, because he was like, "Oh my God, Val, will you just please sing with me?" Or no, because first Veronica was like, "I'll sing with you," and then he asked Val, and Val was like, "Sure." And then Val told Josie, and Josie was like, "You can sing with the Pussycats, or you can sing with Archie, but you can't do both." And I was
Josie was at like the lowest an 8 through this entire episode.
Peak Josie. and so then Archie was like, "Cool, Val's gonna sing with me." And then Veronica was like, "Well, you can either sing with Val or you can sing with me, but you can't sing with both." And so then Veronica went and joined the Pussycats, but then at the last minute, Val and Veronica were both in the Pussycats. It was like, so for what did any of that drama happen? For nothing.
This is, I guess I would say this is the beginning of Veronica just like, yeah. Well, it was like they worked backwards.
Yeah.
Like, it was like they had an end scene that they had to make work.
We have to figure out a way to get Veronica in with the Pussycats, which is like fine. That's a fine goal to shoot for. But
you could have done it without involving Archie.
The journey to get there and like putting this stupid white boy at the middle of it, just doesn't have the sense in his head.
They were jumping to too many conclusions, or like not even so much jumping to conclusions, but it's like, it's a thing I've said to you a couple times, where it's like, you know, when you look up a definition for a word, there's like the first most immediate definition, and then there's like 2 that are kind of like medium, and then there's like a 4th one that you're like, I mean, sure, that kind of. They were going straight to 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And it was just like I mean.
Well, it also was like, it was as if it was like the harshest betrayals that any of them
for the sophomore talent show.
For the sophomore talent show. I don't know. It was the stakes were so high. Archie was having like panic dreams.
Why were they being so mean to Archie? I don't remember the football guys having beef with. Is it just because he's chosen music over football?
I don't know.
Because I think it's stupid, but that could be a valid plot if they actually made it.
But he also hasn't chosen music over football. He's still doing both.
Moose was just straight bullying him, and I was like, is Moose a bully? I don't remember. I mean,
I don't. That's the thing is like, okay. So in the last episode, we said that this is when it starts like becoming Riverdale, which is accurate. But this is also where we start getting a little uneven with the characterizations and the actual like plot flow and everything, because there was so much weird drama in this episode just to get to a point where like Veronica and Archie are okay with each other. But also he's dating Val now. The
Val thing, I really like it. Like, I like Val as a character. And there's a scene towards the beginning where they are outside again. Mm-hmm. They're using the outside so much this season.
To the point where at one point Betty and Jughead are like in the rain. They're
eating lunch
wet.
outside, and it's like Kevin's there and like Val is there. Yeah. And so it kind of like if we were gonna tell this story about dissent amongst the Pussycats, we need to see the scene where Val sits with Archie instead of Josie and Melody.
Sure. It can't, you're right, because it's like all of a sudden out of nowhere, and Josie is like, you can't do both. And
but the thing is, I love it. It's like, I love when shows and teen shows behave more this way, and we don't get it a ton because of the nature of like a teen soap opera.
Yeah.
You have your cast and you have a cast hierarchy where it's like, it's just, there was something about bringing in like Val, or again, it's like, could you imagine if like fucking Reggie was there or something? Like, I wish we saw more overlap between the different...
Sure, because they all clearly know each other, and they're all clearly friendly, you know, within the school, but there's not enough overlap of these groups in a way that like makes it appropriate for the entire football team to be at the variety show tryouts just to make fun of Archie. Does not compute.
Yeah. I had forgotten what a piece of work Sierra McCoy was in the beginning.
Yeah, because, okay, I had many people were acting ways I didn't think they should be acting, and hers was weird because she, I thought, always was sort of, like, mixed on Josie's music career. Like, I thought she was like, you can't do this, it's, like, not a smart career move or something.
I don't remember that.
Like, you have to be smarter about your future kind of a thing. But she's like, first of all, whole hog into it. And then she's like, well, that's okay if Val left. Nobody's irreplaceable except for you. Just make sure you get another woman of color.
Which
you remember our branding? And I was like, wow.
We commented on that before, and I was like, you can't make that a staple of someone's character and then not follow through on it. Which the show does not follow through. And so it just winds up tokenizing them in such a tragic way that like, I want to believe that these people are like good. I mean, I think these writers are good, but it's just like, it does suck and then start becoming suspicious when this sort of thing happens again and again. Yeah. And so, because that's why it's like, because as I mentioned already, Josie is kind of all over the place in this episode. And so it was like, maybe Josie just wasn't working, like, as a character. That can happen sometimes. But clearly Valerie was. Yeah. And yet she also just ceases to exist on this show at a certain point. Like, I think I think Val and Melody are in like 2 episodes of season 2, and then like,
I was gonna say they fill out season 1, and then I think they are in a couple of season 2, but then they basically are like, but I also don't think they have lines. Like, once,
I mean, a couple, but
like once Archie and Val, spoiler alert, break up, it's like she's not around anymore.
Yeah. So this is where we get the Sisters of Quiet Mercy.
Okay,
and the introduction of Polly.
So I had forgotten how early the Sisters of Quiet Mercy come in, and
well, remember this is like 13 episodes.
Yeah. But
so,
I mean, I had forgotten like season 1. But I think part of that is a product of like, once you hear it 6 or 7 times, it sticks. But like the first time, you're just like, oh, she's at a home for unwed mothers or whatever. So okay. I know that you hate Polly.
And we're just gonna go there.
And I have eventually come around to your point of view. But do you understand at all how I was like not against her at the beginning? Because she seems like such a victim.
I can go 2 ways with this. Sure, I understand how you could not be like, or how you were not against her in the beginning. Having said that, I hate her here too. There's something about it, and we don't like to get personal, so I'm not going to go as far as to blame Tara, because I've also seen her in a couple other things where she was fine.
I think she's actually pretty good.
But there's something about, it's like Sean Astin from season 2 of Stranger Things, where I was like, nope.
Gotta go.
I was like, he's gotta go. Gotta get rid of him.
About that though.
Well, I was, because I thought he was going to end up being revealed to be some kind of villain, but there was something about him that was off. So it's like, they're doing the fan service, but it's like, there's something about her that I'm just like, I don't have time for this. And it is it is unfortunate how everything just sort of played out, because season 1 they weren't into their like super like high concept episodes. Because I feel like we missed an opportunity for a Sucker Punch episode.
Ooh, like inside Sisters of Quiet Mercy.
Polly had some real Abby Cornish vibes that I was like...
That's fair. That's
But
fair.
yeah, it just, and again, we've come out as major Alice Cooper stans, and I did forget how straight villainous she was
At the beginning.
At the very beginning, it's odd because she stays a piece of work, but
Yeah, but we get to a point where the thing that's...
it's like if a bitch can be affable.
Yeah, and we get to a point where the thing that's, like, the biggest thing about her character is how much she loves Betty.
Mm-hmm.
And once we get that established, it's sort of smooth sailing.
Mm-hmm.
But we're a while away from that right now.
So Polly is in play now. She knows about Jason.
Yeah.
We feel like we need to free her from the situation. Betty thinks Hal might have killed Jason, which is ridiculous, because if we know one thing about Hal, it is that he is not a murderer. I mean, it rendered Alice into hysterics, which I forgot how creepy that scene was.
Yeah.
Because you think she's sobbing?
Well, and it's creepy several ways over, because then Alice goes immediately into, you sound crazy just like Polly. And so it's like the first threat we get of her, like, potentially, it's like, or basically like threatening to put Betty away.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, "Lee."
Yeah, it's a lot. This was, I stand by, we both stand by, this was a messy fucking episode.
It's super messy.
Because this is also where we get that Veronica is a legal owner of Lodge Industries.
She's 15. She's 15.
Which comes back with such a vengeance, and we sort of, our eyes glaze over with, like, the Lodge plots.
The Lodge family industry.
And so there was, like, a part of me that was excited to go back and rewatch this. So I was like, okay, so now I can actually remember what's going on.
Yeah.
And the second Hermione walked on screen holding, like, papers, I was like...
Yeah.
I just was like, nope. It's just this weird,
You
like...
can't do it.
I don't understand the question, and I won't respond to
Well,
it. Like,
she also, like... it's the type of thing that's so weird, because, like, so Hiram is in prison for, like, fraud or whatever, like, fraud and embezzlement or whatever, and Hermione is like, well, right before your father went to prison, we had you made a legal officer of the company. And I was like, first of all, no, she's a child.
I think it can be, I mean, for parents.
But second of all, whenever somebody is on trial for fraud and embezzlement, they generally, like, freeze all business dealing. Like, I don't think you can just do that. And obviously the show is not here for realism, but at the same time, I was like, none of this is real.
I don't know, the Trump kids are just running roughshod all over with their business, so, with their father's business. But I also had forgotten how hard in the paint they were with Hermione and Fred in the beginning.
Yeah.
And Veronica is butthurt about it. And
Really
I don't think it really checks.
Well, so that was one of the other things about that happened with Archie, because, you know, Archie's already got the whole thing going with his music in this episode. He cannot handle a B plot where his dad is dating his classmate's mom, and to the point where he literally says the words, well, isn't your dad incarcerated? As if that renders the affair not a problem. And on the one hand,
I love how much of your Archie issues is concern for his well-being. You're like, he can't handle this.
He can't take it. His little brain, his little golden retriever brain can't handle it. And so he, like, that is his excuse, where, like, it's not a real affair because my parents are separated and your dad's in prison. And she's like, that doesn't matter. And I'm like, well,
I mean, it does and it doesn't. But
it matters.
Because it's like, well, because also it's implying that the fact that her father is, like, not available means that it's not an affair.
Right.
So it's like...
Right.
And, well, your dad was out of state. What was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Not make out with Fred Andrews? Like, it is really, yeah. It's very, very, very Riverdale. We also got the drug car in this episode.
Yeah.
I have never been a Betty and Jughead shipper.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been as far as to be an anti-shipper. They just were like, meh, for me, whatever.
I think they're cute.
You love it. I'm more fond of it now, especially because in this episode, maybe the script was weak and the actors knew they had to do some heavy lifting, but they had a couple of moments that were not scripted, like during the lunch scene and stuff. He, like, gives her potato chips.
Oh, that. I was thinking about the breakfast scene where she, like...
Oh, okay. I have a nitpick, but go ahead.
She like gives him eyes to like
Well, yeah.
try to get Alice out of the room, and it worked. I don't know.
They have good material. This happens not a ton. Excuse me. It's not like an epidemic in Riverdale, but characters meet before breakfast or before school to like do stuff sometimes, and I'm like, are they getting up at 3:45 in the morning?
I think Riverdale is one of those schools
starts later,
sort of like on Gossip Girl, where like you and I, when we went to the same high school, we had to be there
at 7:20.
Like 7-ish. Yeah, because I remember when I had swim practice, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, so I had to wake up at 4:30 to get to the pool. So yeah, I think they might start school at like 9.
Because I'm like, that is not enough time to like.
Gossip Girl was hard starting school like after lunch period.
Yeah. So the drug car. Was there anything other than they found drugs in a car and they?
Well, they found it wasn't the drug car. It was the car with Jason's like things to run away with Polly.
Yeah, but there were drugs in it.
Oh, were there?
Yeah.
I missed that then.
I feel passionately that it was a drug car.
That's fine. I believe it.
Somebody was watching though and set it ablaze
before they could get Sheriff Keller out there. Yeah.
So I think that's mostly.
Yeah. It's a messy episode. It's not bad. It's just messy. It also does, though, start the tradition of Kevin being, like, fully in charge of the variety show.
Yeah, I loved that. And I also love how Veronica, speaking of running roughshod, she just sort of, like, strong arms Kevin through the whole thing.
Yeah, she was like, don't worry, Archie. I told Kevin that he has to let you do it. And I just
He's just, like, he's weirdly jaded. Like, this is, like, he's in a very, like, James Marsden meets Andy Cohen place where it's like, this is his, like, 37th talent show, and he's kind of over it.
Kevin does have the feeling of somebody who's, like, who's done this ad nauseum and like can't stomach the process anymore. It's very funny.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, Sisters of Quiet Mercy comes back, and I think if there is one takeaway from this episode, it is that Hal is incapable of murder. So I think we can rest confidently in that.
Put a button on that. On that note.
So okay, cool.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.